It's the Brian and Kindra Show with Brian Cook and Kindra Brown of Advanced Real Estate Advisors.
I'm Kindra Brown.
And I'm Brian Cook.
Between the two of us, we have 38 years of experience in real estate.
Sharing real estate tips and advice right here on Classic Hits 1073.
Hey, it's the Brian Show today.
It is
Kindra's
not. It's
working.
the Brian and Kindra
no.
show. I can double task.
That's right.
I got you, boss.
Hey, we got,
I got you
so
work
much
right
going. So, hey,
Fantastic.
it is. So, it's Brian Cook with Advanced Real Estate Associates, Advisors, Advanced Real Estate Advisors.
This is your game, boss.
It is crazy.
Your game.
Hey, we had to change the name.
All right. The Brian and Kindra show. Advanced Real Estate Advisors.
We're here in Woodward, Oklahoma, middle of the world.
Yeah, because we want to talk about some small market real estate.
Yep. So,
Our real goal is to provide.
Practical tips and valuable insights.
I just wondered if you could remember.
I can read.
Oh, yeah, that's far enough away you can read it. It's far enough away about can't, but you can.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so anything fun happening? I
Um,
don't even know what the date is.
It's almost 4th of July. They can actually start selling fireworks today,
Really? That's exciting. That's
June
fan-freaking-tastic.
15th. I don't think they open till Saturday, but
Cool.
so
I
yeah,
love fireworks season.
I kind of
rodeo.
like it.
Gonna miss the rodeo. Gone till next year.
Yep. So all
be
that
fun.
being said, lots of things have been going on in June. Lots of sports events, lots of Kids Inc. stuff. Man, if you are bored, you are not getting out.
Want to hear something funny?
Yes.
Okay, going back to the rodeo because I just thought of this. Last year you were gone, and one of the rodeo people came in to ask if they could put their sign out front, and I said, "Absolutely, Brian doesn't mind. And rodeo is my favorite game." And he goes, "Game." My bad. I'm sorry. I just meant I really appreciate the entertainment provided by the rodeo. I guess that was the wrong thing to say. It cracked me up.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm there every night if I
I
can.
mean, they keep score. Doesn't that mean it's a game?
It's a competition.
Yeah.
I thought, I don't know. But it's a way of life. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it offensively. Like, I legit really think it's fun. Okay. Anyway, isn't that funny?
Yes.
Yeah. Once again, my mouth.
The great joys of living in a small town.
It's fantastic. Okay. So, small market real estate. What are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about, last week we talked about terms. And we brought up a lot of terms that are in the contract. So today we're going to talk about the contract. Woohoo! Let me get some coffee.
Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't get some coffee. That was a horrible
You kept
sound to
asking for
dismay.
coffee this morning. I'm like, coffee?
I
dog.
did not. I mentioned,
Copies.
my gosh. I didn't even say coffee. I said copy.
Yeah.
And next thing I knew, you were harping on me, acting like I was telling
More
you
coffee?
to make
More
coffee. I
coffee?
did not. I do need a cup. Do you mind? Just kidding. Okay. So first things first.
I made a fresh pot because I
The
drank the first one already.
Fresh spot. All right. So first things first, the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission has a contract form that we use in our office. Like I would say 99.9% of the contracts that we write in our office are written on this document.
Yes. There's a few that aren't, that are bank owned, government back owned type loans that are in foreclosures. Like we got one now on the HUD owns it, which is owned by the government, basically.
Yep.
Or the loan is backed by the government, so the government dictates how it is done. And it's the same contract through the United States, and it's a little bit different. So,
Right.
so very rare do we get those, but yeah, those happen every now and then.
But occasionally. All right. So last time we talked about offer versus contract, and we mentioned that we type a buyer's offer on the contract documents. And that is to just help make sure that there's no confusion about what's going to be entailed within the contract package once we have an executed document. So at the beginning of our Oklahoma Real Estate Commission contract, it says this is a legally binding contract. If not understood, seek advice from an attorney. I'm not one.
Not either. Don't want to be. I didn't go to school to be. Won't act like I am.
No, none. Oh, look, thank you. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Nathan. It's awesome. And look, it's my favorite mug. The Brian and Kindra Show. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right, so legally binding contract, we're not an attorney. So we kind of run through this and try to share our understanding of the contract. But if you have like some real legal questions, we encourage you to talk to an attorney,
Yes.
not us. Not us. All All right, so at the beginning of the contract says contract documents, that a contract is defined as this document with the following attachments. And then we check mark some attachments up here at the top of this page. There's all these delightful little check boxes. I don't really think you can see on the little camera, but I wanted to put it up there. All right, so this means like if there's going to be a loan, if the legal description is too long to type into the form, if there's some special contingencies, if you have to sell your property in order to purchase your new home, that we're going to let the seller know up front, hey, we've attached this different document. So back in the old days when we did foreclosures, they would just have an addendum. And so I would put on this extra line, foreclosure addendum. And then that would note, hey, we've got a different addendum that's going to be attached. Make sure you look for it. This is what gets tricky.
Yeah.
If you're a cash buyer, don't let your agent write cash. There's not a cash addendum.
Yeah, there's no addendum.
There's
This
no
is
addendum.
only for things attached to the contract. So if you want to attach a lease to the contract, you type in there, see attached lease.
Yes.
Bam. Check the box.
So if we scoot down here to, I think it's number 2, it says that, yes, here we are. The purchase price, earnest money source of funds, ... This is a cash transaction unless a financing supplement is attached. And that's what we're saying. So if you're a cash transaction, we don't attach anything special. It's already assumed in the contract that you're going to pay cash for your
So
house.
please buy houses with cash. It makes it easier on us. One less form.
Which kind of makes me laugh that that's the assumed.
Yes.
Because there is no, I mean, the majority of our contracts are loan.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
And I also think in today's society, with so many checks and balances by people, I almost feel like there should be a cash addendum saying,
yeah. What kind of, I mean, not what
where's
kind
the
of
cash coming from? Like, do you already have it in your account? Or you're pulling it out of your trust fund? Are you
Or is it off a line of credit?
Right.
Right.
Or we're going to have to wait for you to get it from your 401k. Sometimes that can delay
Yeah.
closing.
A couple of weeks.
I
Yeah.
think that's important.
Yes.
So, anyway, but that's just a little mind thinking.
Yeah.
All right. So the next thing on the contract are the parties of
Party
the contract.
time. I got my party
I
shirt
don't-
on.
You do. You do have your party shirt on.
that.
I
Everybody's
wear
like,
I wear
what?
sparkles.
Yes. It's like, what in the world?
It looks like I only have one shirt because I didn't change between recordings
Well,
like
hey.
you did. But
I thought, hey, the contract is so exciting. I had to find my most exciting shirt.
next week, buddy. Next week, game on.
Game on. Okay. I bought one last week at the golf store. That's very 4th of July-ish.
Awesome.
You know.
I do love 4th of July.
Yeah.
Fireworks. Okay, so parties. The contract is entered between the seller and the buyer. And so we list those out. And I want your full legal name, which evidently is like the weirdest question because whenever I ask that, okay, great. How would you like for your name to be typed on the contract? Or what is your full legal name? They always go, what do you mean? Literally. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, how is it on your car title? Basically, because that's usually how you have it. So you're Brian Keith Cook, Brian K. Cook.
I've unfortunately
There's
have
also
them.
Brian Keith Cook in prison.
Yeah. Not me,
Not you.
but he probably has a cool striped shirt.
He probably does. I like stripes. Okay, but the thing, I'm sorry, I just got tickled. Okay, so sorry. All right, so I just lost my whole train of thought.
About legal
we need
names.
to differentiate who you are.
Right.
So, like, if you and your dad have the same name and you're Junior, then we want to make sure that we put
Says
Junior on
Junior.
this
Yep.
contract
Absolutely.
because this is how the mortgage company, like, it needs to match your mortgage. This is how it's going to be written on the deed.
Mm-hmm.
This is how it's going to be filed at the courthouse. This is how it's going to be going into your abstract. We want to make sure that we have it correct. So,
Yes.
yes, Kindra Ann Brown, strong, independent-ish woman filled with peace and joy. That's what I put. That's my name. Next up, the party signatures at the end of the contract, including all documents, are what creates this valid and binding contract. I want to hit that part. This is a legally binding contract. Up here, we talked about that, but we really just stuck on the part that we're not attorneys. But I think it's really important. Sometimes I feel like I've seen a couple of buyers go into their contract period kind of willy-nilly, like, I think I'll try it out. And they sign all the stuff and we go through the whole thing. And then I realize this whole time they were like, I'll just back out if I just change my mind.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be doing that. Like, this is a man or woman of your word kind of a deal. And when you sign this, you should be signing this with
The
the
intention of
sincerest-
purchasing the property.
yes, most sincere intent of purchasing this property. There are outs in the contract to protect you, but it's not like I changed my mind. I just don't think I want to buy a house anymore. It's really not like that. Right.
Right.
Right. All right. What's up next? You've got some things underlined. What do you want to talk about that?
Well, the biggest
Oh,
thing is
I love it. All prior verbal or written negotiations.
yeah. So if you're like, you're you bought a house, they have a garage sale, you bounce in there at the garage sale and you're talking to the seller and you're like, hey, I
Oh,
want
this happened to us.
that's
Washer dryer.
that's a great washer and dryer. Will you leave it? Oh yeah, sure. And then we get to closing and it's gone.
Yep. That's exciting. That was very exciting.
Well, you know what? It's not in the contract. Just because they said it, they may have not understood what you said. They may have said, yeah, if you buy it at the garage sale today, we'll leave it here so you don't have to move it out and move it back in.
Right.
Like, we don't know all that because it's not
Or-
in writing.
I'm sorry you spoke with my husband and he didn't tell me and I've already packed it.
Yes, exactly.
These things legit happen.
Happen.
Legit.
Yep. And it's such a small town, back to small market real
Oh,
estate.
man.
You probably know the person you're buying your house from. And you're going to run into them at church or Walmart or the tag office or the cafe, whatever. You're running into them and you're going to talk. If you come to any agreement outside of using your agent, please call your agent and have them put it in writing. And I'm bad at this because I'm like, yeah, we're all good. We honor our word. We honor our word and we do our thing. And just yesterday, you were asking me, did you agree to that?
And you still haven't let me put it in writing.
I
And
know.
I'm legit. I'm like, you're really stressing me out here,
Yeah.
buddy. And I get it. Both sides are super easygoing, super good.
Yes.
People of their word. But oh my gosh, sometimes people just forget.
Yes.
Just legitimately,
Okay,
honestly
okay.
forget.
Let's
There's
put
a
it in
lot
writing.
of stress with moving.
Yes.
A lot of stress. Okay, I want to go back to what you said. If you run into your buyer seller that you probably know at Walmart, I would actually encourage you to not talk about the contract.
It'd be better
Talk
to
about
not.
why you love the property. Talk about where the seller is moving. Talk about those kinds of fun things. Don't talk about the transaction.
Yeah.
Let us do that for you because here's what I don't think everybody understands. When we talk to a buyer, when we talk to a seller, how do we talk about the buyer or the seller? With grace,
Yes.
with kindness. Like we are not throwing each other under the bus. We are legit wanting for everyone to go into closing and be so happy to see each other and so happy to sign their documents that we are going to be helping you maintain your relationship because
Yes.
we are relationship oriented business, relationship oriented real estate. We really want everyone to be content.
Right. Because you're going
So-
to see each other again
I know, at Walmart on Saturday when
At
you don't have your
church,
makeup on.
next door.
So we really want to make sure that we help you.
Yes.
So let us do that. 100% let us do that. If you want the refrigerator and you think of it after the fact, call us and let us call the seller and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Let us help you to handle that instead of creating any kind of weird friction that could be coming up.
Right.
So that's actually why we're involved, not for
Yes.
refrigerators. We're really
Right.
involved for real estate, but we realize sometimes things get a little wonky.
Yeah. So I was with an individual yesterday or Wednesday, and we were driving, and he said, I was taking phone calls as we was driving. He's like, oh my gosh, is that your responsibility? I'm like, you have, and I've known this guy for 20 years. And he's like,
And a number of
transactions,
Yes.
like a bunch. And he was like, I had no idea that it was, and I can't remember what it was about because it's so normal, but he was shocked at sometimes the things that we have to
Right.
negotiate.
yes. Oh my goodness, yes.
So
Well, even just the whole trip, that was unusual of a trip. You had
Yeah.
to pick up an abstract, run it to somewhere else to get it.
abstract read
Yes.
because it was a timing issue. Things moved quicker than they were supposed to, and things were held up as longer than they were supposed to. So I was like, hey, if you'll drive this to the attorney in a whole nother town, he'll read it first thing in the morning, overnight it back or ship it back, and then we'll have
Oh,
it all.
it
And then we
got
can close on
crazy.
Friday. And so, okay.
All right, here we are.
So we updated an abstract, delivered to the title opinion, and back in less than 24 hours.
It's awesome. Like Wednesday, we decided we were going to
Small
close
market.
on Friday, and it's happening today. It is that is something that I believe only happens in a small market. I
Yeah.
could be wrong. Like I'm not saying that that's like gospel, but it really feels like
Yeah.
that's something that only small towns can pull off.
Yes.
And kudos to our closer.
Yeah.
Ashley First Republic Title. She is stinking killing it for these buyers and these sellers. I started to say for us, but it's not for us.
Nope.
It's for the buyers and the sellers. Like she recognizes these people need a place to live. The house is vacant. Seller's ready to sell. Get it done. Stinking awesome.
So-
Stinking awesome.
Yep.
I just realized there's an error on that settlement statement.
Oh,
You need
so
to make me a note.
so again, back to writing. Make sure everything is in writing, because whatever's in writing is what happens.
Yes.
So is what if you if you have to go to court and fight it, that's what the judge is gonna do. So and all of those things is this contract, the final signed dated contract. So if you sign a contract and things change, it needs to address. It should say something about the contract dated such and such time.
Right.
This amends that contract. If it doesn't have a date on it or references back to that contract, then it gets messy again.
Absolutely.
So make sure things are dated and corrected.
All right.
So-
Next step, it says that the parties agree that, I'm sorry, I lost a little bit, but they're going to sell and convey this property. We're going to transfer ownership through a general warranty deed. And again, the general warranty deed is the most, it's the most insurance that you are getting the property and you're getting it without title defects, and it's going to be yours.
The seller is warranting the deed to the buyer. Is what they're doing. They're warranting that everything is correct and done and right. And so, and now this gets amended all the time when you're in an estate or a probate or all those different representatives deeds. And so we have never encountered a massive issue with this, but we've been held up verifying that a special warranty deed is as good as a general warranty deed, and then they do the title opinion and verify, and the attorney says yes, it's as good, it's not the same, but we're guaranteeing it. And then but you're actually amending your contract at that time.
We had one recently, and I can't remember exactly what the deed was, but it was one I've never seen. You'd never seen it either. 20, 30 something years between the two of us, or over 35 years between the two of us. We'd never seen that deed.
Yep.
And I had to do some research. Like, is this really okay? I'm not sure how I feel about it. And we sought an attorney and made sure, and everything was cool. And again, like, really, did it matter? Because it was the buyer, but the buyer had some significant concerns, and we made sure that everything was comfortable for him. All right, next up, the property shall consist of the following described real estate, and we are going to denote which county, what the legal description is, and what the property address is.
Yep.
It's important that all of this is filled out.
Yes.
I lived in Laverne. You lived in Laverne. I remember my address had 2 or 3 different addresses. The legal description is imperative because that is really what your property is. It can be 108 Oklahoma, and it can be 110 Oklahoma, and it can be 106 Oklahoma. Who the heck knows? Just whatever the utility company wants it to be, I guess.
Yes.
But that legal description says 100% that lot 1, block 1 of Spencer Edition is the property that I own.
Yep.
That's
and
important.
So the physical address, you may have a different mailing address. What you're saying is your mailing address may be different. The UPS address may be different than your post office address, especially in some of these smaller towns even. But like Woodward County has a 911 coordinator person.
I do think this is better than it was 20 years ago.
And they have done a great job coordinating all that. And so if you have a problem, you have 3 addresses. They will give you the Lizzie legal physical address of your property. So
we have had to go in and amend our contracts because the address that is noted on the assessor's website may not be what the United States Postal Service is, and the lenders go off of the USPS.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting? I think that's interesting. I feel like the USPS, well, that makes sense. Never mind, just kidding.
It's the 5 hours you spend in the kitchen mastering your famous recipe or spending quality time with your family. Other insurance companies may just see it as a house. It's not just a house, it's your home. Hi, I'm State Farm Agent Kevin Kanzler, and I see your home as the time and memories you put into them. I understand what your things really mean to you, and I'm here to help give them the protection they deserve. My office is located on the corner of 13th and Oklahoma and Woodward, or call me at 580-256-2216 for your home insurance today.
OnPoint Land Survey can take care of all your residential, commercial, and industrial survey needs. This family-owned and operated business proudly serves Northwest Oklahoma. These lifelong Northwest Oklahoma residents with over 22 years of experience are ready to serve you with the latest equipment and capable trucks to get your job done. Call OnPoint Land Survey today at 580-256-6757 or stop by 1918 Main Street in Woodward, Oklahoma, or visit their website at onpointlandsurveyok.com. Professional, trusted, local.
Okay, moving on. What else?
So all of that. So whatever's described in that piece of legal description property, all of the fixtures, improvements, appurtenances.
What's that word mean?
That means all of the things used to make the things work. So if you have a swimming pool, all of the things that make the swimming pool work go with the house. Subject to existing zoning. So if you're buying a house and it's residential 1 and you wanted to put in a ostrich farm, probably can't do that. You are buying it subject to whatever the zoning is, whatever the plat says. If there's any deed restrictions, which again, that's why you have a title opinion, they're going to verify what those restrictions are. Any utility easements. So if I'm buying a house and it's got a private water line to your property and there's an easement associated with that, you own that now.
Right.
So you want to make sure that that's there. And then all the mineral rights. So our standard contract gives the mineral rights to your property.
Right. That's important because sometimes we'll sell a property that has a house and has land, and it's possible that the owner would still have mineral rights. A lot of times our sellers don't even have mineral rights. I've never had mineral rights on any of the properties I've owned. They've all been residential, and the mineral rights were released to somebody else, or rather not released some time ago.
Yeah.
So it's important that we pay attention to this. Some sellers do not want to relinquish their mineral rights. Right. And so recently we had this was struck from the contract, and the contract was amended to reflect surface rights only.
Right. So yeah, in Oklahoma, you can own mineral rights separate from the surface rights, but you cannot own the wind rights separate from the land rights.
Interesting.
So we've got some
always
property
forget
now.
about that.
And so there's different types of income that can be produced on your property that you can own or not own. So there is that.
All right. Next up, purchase price, earnest money, and source of funds.
So we're putting all the information in here about how you are going to pay and come up with the money for this property. So if it is cash, just write her in there. If it's financing, again, we make sure we attach the addendum on how you're getting the money for the property.
All right, purchase price is obviously important. So we type in the purchase price as payable by the buyer. And it says that within 3 days of execution of the contract, buyer must deliver a blank amount of money as earnest money. Okay, I'm going to pause there before we go on and talk about where it's held. So earnest money is part of the negotiated contract. You can choose how much earnest money you're willing to do. A lot of agents will say, we really like to see 1%. We also know that's not necessarily going to be feasible for every buyer. Different loan amounts, every buyer's circumstances are different. So we see anything from $500 up to thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars occasionally. I was thinking the other day, a real estate contract, it was an offer made on a foreclosure property. They required $5,000 earnest money. It was like a $69,000 property. So that's unusual. But the particular buyer that I was working with was an investor. They were like, hey, no problem. Absolutely. A lot of times for a $69,000 property, a buyer is like, I don't have $5,000. And so their earnest money would be less. So we fill in earnest money here. This is negotiated. If the seller doesn't like the amount of earnest money that you have offered, they can counteroffer that the same way that they can counteroffer your purchase price. I just think that's important to remember.
Right.
So earnest money is deposited into a trust account, either is noted in a blank, or if it's left blank, it's in the listing broker's trust account. That means that they can't commingle the money. Like they can't be playing with your money or spending your money. It has to be held there. It's very specific. That trust account can even be, if it's a listing broker's trust account, that can even be monitored, audited by the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission. We don't have a trust account with Advanced Real Estate Advisors. So if we hold the listing and another agent submits an offer to us, they're going to put First Republic Title or Woodward County Abstract as the escrow holders.
Yes.
Then they hold it very carefully, and they're very specific. I've been very, very pleased and thankful with how they release earnest money if we have a contract fail. They will not release it without something signed by both parties.
Correct.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So everybody's in agreement then. I like that. That's what the contract says, and it shows that they're actually doing what the contract has told them to do. All right, next up, the earnest money is considered partial payment of the purchase price and or the closing cost. That's changed. That used to just say that it was part of the down payment.
Yep.
But now they're actually admitting it's part of the closing cost.
Yep.
That's really how it feels.
Can be, either and or.
And then the buyer pays the balance of the purchase price and their closing cost at closing. We're going to see buyers' closing costs through this document over and over and over. And we'll talk about those a little bit more at the end. But just know that whenever you buy a property, when you get to closing, you're going to have to bring some money.
Yep. Yeah. Somebody's bringing it.
One way or the other, somebody's going to get paid.
Yep.
You've got to make sure that you get your earnest money there on time. If you don't, this contract will be void.
Yes. And so what it says, and there's a way to avoid it. So if it's not brought, the seller may, so we've had some issues where that's like in the mail or hasn't got here or whatever. The seller can terminate this contract based on not getting their earnest money quickly. So you get a fantastic deal on a property and you, all right, I'm going to mail my earnest money and it's not there in time. And somebody else pokes in and decides they want to buy that property, then you could miss out because they can cancel your contract because they don't have their earnest money.
So this doesn't happen every time. Like we had a situation recently, exactly what you said, that the buyer was out of town, seller was local, and it took a hot minute for the mail to get here.
Yes.
That seller was gracious. We have seen sellers go, hey, this doesn't feel quite right. There are 5 days instead of 3 days. I'm terminating the contract. And that is 100% within their rights. And they did that the correct way. All right, what's next?
Closing and funding. So this is closing, funding, and possession. So
This is the fun part.
This is the end of the party.
So it's the end of the party at the beginning of the contract.
That's right.
All right. Closing process includes the execution of the documents, delivery of deed, and the receipt of funds by the seller. And we give it a specific date to complete that process. So how long does a contract usually last?
30 to 45 days.
So if it's a loan, especially a government-backed loan, FHA, VA, USDA, then I give it 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If it's cash, I generally put in 30 days.
And that all can be negotiated. You can be like, hey, I got a buddy that's got some property for sale, and they negotiated the contract back in March, and they're closing at the 1st of October. So, wow, what a long contract. But lots of inspections and government issues involved. And so it all depends on all that.
Note, so we've seen, we just closed one right after school let out. Mm-hmm. And the contract could have very well been closed probably within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because it was basically a cash contract. It was very simple. Everything was done well. But the seller needed a little bit more time to get the kiddos out of school. Mm-hmm. And so the buyer said, heck yes, we can negotiate those terms.
Yep.
So that can be negotiated.
And we've had some that last, and we've had some years.
Oh my gosh.
So you got the deals all that can be negotiated. Obviously, the longer the time, the more life can happen between that can hurt or help or hinder your deal. So, all right, we are running out of time. We're going to get maybe one page done today. So in addition to closing costs and expenses required to be paid to the terms of this contract, the buyer shall pay. Here's the kind of a list of things that buyers are responsible per the contract is the buyer's closing fee, generally around $200, $250. Buyer's recording fee. So this is recording the deed, mortgage, any other documents required by the lender. And then all other expenses required from the buyer are due from the buyer. And then the seller shall pay doc stamps. So that's a whole nother show. Doc stamps are a tax for filing fees at the courthouse on your deed. And then the seller's closing fee, which is $200, $250. Recording fees. This is like the doc stamps are one thing. They're based on the sales price of the house. The recording fees are so many dollars per page to be filed at the Woodward County Assessor's or Treasurer's County Clerk's office. Sorry. All that being said, so all those say the funds required from buyer and seller closing shall be cash, cashier's check, wire transfer or determined by provider or settlement services. So if you're like, hey, I'm bringing gold in.
No, you're probably not.
Not going to do that. So
probably not bringing cash to our local contracts or local companies either.
Nope, they're
so
not.
Be ready to have your funds wired or
they're not able to handle that.
But we're out of time.
We're out of time. So thanks for listening. It's the Brian and Kindra Show. We'll talk to you guys next week.
See you later.
Your new favorite, Classic Hits 107.3 KLSI Moreland Woodward. Tell a friend.
It's the Brian and Kindra Show with Brian Cook and Kindra Brown of Advanced Real Estate Advisors.
I'm Kindra Brown.
And I'm Brian Cook.
Between the two of us, we have 38 years of experience in real estate.
Sharing real estate tips and advice right here on Classic Hits 107.3.
Hey, the Brian Show today.
It is
Kindra's
not. It's
working.
the Brian and Kindra
Oh, no.
Show. I can double task.
That's right.
I got you, boss.
Hey, we got,
I got your
so
work
much
right
going.
Here.
So, hey.
Fantastic.
It is. So it's Brian Cook with Advanced Real Estate Associates, advisors, Advanced Real Estate Advisors.
This is your game, boss.
It is crazy.
Your game.
Hey, we had to change the name.
All right. The Brian and Kindra Show, Advanced Real Estate Advisors.
We're here in Woodward, Oklahoma, middle of the world.
Yeah, because we want to talk about some small market real estate.
Yep. So
Our real goal is to provide.
Practical tips and valuable insights.
I just wondered if you could remember.
I can read.
Okay, that's far enough away you can read it. It's far enough away about can't, but you can.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so anything fun happening?
Um,
I don't even know what the date is.
it's almost 4th of July. They can actually start selling fireworks today,
Really? That's exciting. That's
June 15th. I don't think they open till Saturday, but
Cool.
So,
I
yeah.
love fireworks season.
I kind
Rodeo.
of like it.
Gonna miss the rodeo. Gone till next year.
Yep. So, all
be
that
fun.
being said, lots of things have been going on in June. Lots of sports events, lots of Kids Inc. stuff. Man, if you are bored, you are not getting out.
Want to hear something funny?
Yes.
Okay, going back to the rodeo, because I just thought of this. Last year you were gone, and one of the rodeo people came in to ask if they could put their sign out front. And I said, absolutely, Brian doesn't mind. And rodeo is my favorite game. And he goes, game? My bad. I'm sorry. I just meant I really appreciate the entertainment provided.